Hey y'all, it's me Vanessa. So I'm here to talk yet again about prison yoga. So I went back to Rikers for, for my class, but I actually taught two classes this past week. I'm really excited about my new class. It is a class for women who are being detained. So basically, there's when I go in, there's the way the dorms are set up. There's a north, south, east, west, and I generally go to a south dorm, and then there are women who have already been convicted and women who are being detained. So I teach the convicted women normally, but the women who are being detained, like they would always be like, so why do they get yoga? Why do they get yoga and we don't get yoga? And it just starts to feel kind of exclusive. And I'm like, if I'm here, I should teach both. So we kind of got that going, and I started it yesterday. There seems to be a lot of interest. There were about 10 or 11 women in my class yesterday. Yeah, and it was definitely an experience. I mean, the thing that's different about this is when I started teaching, the class for women who've already been sentenced, there was already a precedent for yoga and someone had been doing it before. So there was a lot of conditioning that had happened before I got there. But now I'm starting basically from, starting from the bottom, and there's all this conditioning that I have to do. So I probably could have talked for like 7 to 10 minutes about, ground rules and things I felt like they needed to know. They needed to know that this is a safe space. You can let go here. This is a space of non-judgment, not judging yourself or not judging others, and being kind to yourself and breathing and, staying on your mat and, holding down your own space and respecting other people and respecting their space. And there's just so much, that I could have said, but I probably only had like 2 minutes of like their actual attention. So I was like, let me just say as much as I can in these couple of minutes and then just keep going. So we got into the asana, and it was definitely challenging. It was like these women have been standing still or just sitting down for like 6 months, and this is the first time they've ever moved their bodies. You know what I mean? There were a lot of like groans, like, ooh, like that hurts. But that's a part of the process, just being able to identify where, this tension is. And so now, once we identify it, we can kind of start, working on like removing it and working through all of it. I played a little music for them. They seem to really connect with that. One thing I did find, it's just difficult, like they don't really understand, like you're not supposed to be like talking in yoga, so there's like a lot of side conversations happening. And so it's like, I'm playing this role as like, their guide in this yoga thing, but in some ways I also have to be like the disciplinarian, and that, that is something that I have to work on because I don't have kids. I've never really been like a real teacher, so I'm gonna have to work on being a little bit more stern. And also just because I don't want, the ones that are having the side conversations to, ruin it for the ones who are really, really here and like focused. So yeah, there's definitely like a whole lot of, when we're moving, there's a whole lot of like, oh, I can't do that. So there are kind of like two ways that I work around that. Like number one, in my own like demonstrations, when I do all the poses with them, but I've learned that I have to practice down. I can't practice in the way that I practice in, a class that I would be taking for myself. So for instance, like if I'm in a downward dog and I'm like, step your right foot forward in between your hands for a lunge, I can't necessarily, sometimes I will, I'll step forward like I normally do because I can do that. But sometimes I'll just, actually grab my foot and drag it forward to show them that there are a number of ways to get to this like destination. Like there's definitely levels to this. So that's one thing. And also, just being like really encouraging, like, yes, you can, like, come on, like, try it this way, try it that way, take a child's pose. Like, I really do have to, like, literally provide encouragement in, like, every pose. And that's, like, also something that I'm not used to as well. And it just goes to show you that, like, it's either they get really frustrated, like, I can't. Or, some of them, like, don't even stay for the whole class. Like, they'll just leave. And I try to get those ones to stay, but also it's like I can't sacrifice, like, the group for the one person that doesn't want to stay. So that's something, I have to learn how to balance, but it just goes to show you that, like, the importance of, like, having someone around that tells you that, yes, you can, you know what I mean? Like, yesterday I was like, I am so grateful for having just parents who were, like, not even just parents, but, like, a whole, like, team of people who were behind me, like, yes, you can, yes, you can, yes, you can. And I feel like that has made a world of difference, like, for me, and, like, yeah, definitely for me and where I'm at. So, the class was like kind of crazy. Sometimes I feel like when we do like standing poses and balancing and stuff that really builds up heat and fire, it gets them kind of like riled up. So I definitely like took it down a little bit early, and when they were so crazy and all over the place, but once we got to Savasana, everybody was out. They really enjoyed Savasana. They were all like, oh, they were so relaxed. I did the adjustments, and I gave them the option to, be adjusted or not. And there was one woman who was like, no, I want to be adjusted. I want to be adjusted. She's like, I want to be touched. I was like, okay, I got you, girl. So yeah, it was positive, and I definitely, would expect to see all, if not most, of them back next week. And then I hopped over to the other side to teach my other class, and it was just like a really hectic time. I asked the CEO, I was like, I'm here from yoga, what's going on? She was like, well, they're getting drug testing right now, so it's not a good time. So there are, there's like 30 women, and they each had to have like a piss test yesterday. I don't know why. Maybe it's routine or whatever. I don't know. But they each had drug tests, and then it was like, I'm not going to leave, so I'll wait. And then once that was over, she was like, well, now there's a linen exchange. And I was like, oh, okay. It just felt like she kept trying to tell me no. And I'm just like, no, I'll just stay here and wait. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to come all the way out here and not teach. It's like her showing up to work and not being able to work and not getting paid. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to teach somebody when I'm out here. So it was one of my students. It was her, it's going to be her last yoga class, actually. And she's been really great and diligent about coming and showing up. And, I've seen so much, like, progress in her. And I'm just so happy that she is getting out. So I definitely geared the class toward her. I had, I read a few things. That I felt like she needed to hear. And at the end, I asked her if there was any asana that she wanted to do before it was over. And also I gave her a certificate of completion that was signed by Annika Lucas, the director of Prison Yoga Project. And she just loved it. She was so like grateful and appreciative of it. And it just goes to show you that it really is about, the small things sometimes. So that part of it was positive. I had about four students in that class, I think. So overall it was really, really good. And just like a couple things on like prison in general, like prison culture. When I go in there on Fridays, like usually I have to walk past the beauty parlor, and the beauty parlor is popping on Fridays. So there's this one woman who took the class in my new class today. I saw her last week in there, and her hair looked exactly like mine last week. And she came into my class, and her hair, it was laid, okay? It was laid. She had like these big, flowy curls, and then she put it in a wrap before class started. And I was like, maybe I should stop at the beauty parlor. I don't know. But it's just, that's kind of cool. And another thing is methadone. So sometimes I think that I don't get the turnout in some of my classes because some of the people in the dorm, they go out for methadone, but it's not even just some, like a lot of people go out for methadone. Like methadone is like the drugs in prison. And I'm kind of like on the fence about it. I understand that it probably makes it easier to cope with, being in prison and withdrawing from like drugs and stuff, but at the same time, are we enabling, or are we helping, or I don't know. I just know that methadone is not really something that is done in like all the prisons in the country. Rikers is one of the very few that actually has like a full-on methadone program, but it's just like a little saddening to see like how many people actually go out for it. So that's like really it. I had a great time, and I wore this really wonderful shirt, Incessant Grace. I thought it was a very positive kind of message. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and paying attention, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.